Hi, I'm Steve Lindsay, commander of STS-133. You're watching NASA TV.
I love coffee, I love tea, I love the jive and it loves me. Coffee and tea and the jive and me. A cup, a cup, a cup, a cup, a cup. I love Java, sweet and high. Whoops, Mr. Moto, I'm a coffee pie. Shoot me the pot and I'll pour me a shot. A cup, a cup, a cup, a cup.
Good morning, Discovery, and a special good morning to you, Steve Lindsay.
Good morning, Mike, and thanks to my family for that song, and great to be back with you. Looking forward to another good day. Houston Discovery for Humsep.
Good morning, Air to Grand 2, go for Humsep.
Morning, Stevie Ray, Humsep Strizabone.
Hey, that's great, Steve, and good morning to you after a pretty exciting day yesterday. Great news for you, no focused inspection for Flight Day 6. That means we will replan Flight Day 6 per the way we had intended pre-flight, which is further outfit of the PMM and maybe a little transferring too.
Outstanding news. Thanks, Steve.
In this view from the station's external cameras, there's quite a bit of robotics represented in that view. You can see part of the Dexter robot on the left-hand side. You can also see the station's robotic arm. You can see the OBSS there, which is toward the right of center screen. And then, of course, Discovery's robotic arm there on the far right. The robotics officer here inside Mission Control, here in both the shuttle room and his counterpart down the hall in the station room, have confirmed that the brakes have been released on the station's arm. And this begins our robotics operations today, as the station's arm will be used to reach over, grab onto the OBSS, lift it out of the payload bay, and hand it off to Discovery's robotic arm.
Houston, Discovery from the station for Robo, starting grapple now.
Discovery copies. Houston copies.
A good shot there of the end of the station's robotic arm as it gets ready to grapple onto the OBSS sitting in Discovery's payload bay. You can see that small probe there. That is what the arm is going to grab onto.
Houston, Discovery station for Robo, starting to move the arm out now.
Houston, copy. Discovery copies.
Discovery's orbiter boom sensor system being lifted out of its payload bay by the station's robotic arm. The station arm will continue to clear the OBSS of Discovery's payload bay and move it over. And soon it will be handed over to Discovery's robotic arm. This is being done to get it out of the way of all the different operations that have to be done over the coming day or so to get the PMM installed. There's quite a bit of work through the remainder of this docked mission that is going to be focused on the permanent multi-purpose module that is still sitting down in Discovery's payload bay. But they need to get the OBSS clear for all of that, and due to the fact that Discovery is docked with the station now in that forward docking area, create some clearance issues to where Discovery's robotic arm can't reach over and grab onto its OBSS. They are using the station arm to transfer it over. This is the eastern edge of South America, specifically Brazil, as well as the Atlantic Ocean coming into view. Underneath Shuttle Discovery, you see that its OBSS, the orbiter boom sensor system, has been lifted up out of its payload bay by the station's robotic arm. It's going to be handed over here in a little bit to Discovery's robotic arm, and then it will be moved out of the way.
And Houston, station for Robo.
Houston's here.
Yes, sir. We see ourselves in the handoff position. Just want to confirm the inhibits are still in place and that we are go for SRMS OBSS grapple.
Your go for SRMS OBSS grapple and no exercise while we're dual grappled.
Okay, copy that, Houston and Discovery. You are go for SRMS OBSS grapple.
Copy and work.
As we talked about, this is being done to clear the OBSS off of Discovery's right-hand side of the payload bay, the starboard side, for all of the PMM operations that will take place as that particular piece of cargo gets lifted out of Discovery's payload bay and installed permanently on the bottom of the station. It's going to go on the Unity node on the Earth-facing portion of it. All of those activities are scheduled for Tuesday.
Houston, station for Robo. We see ourselves complete here in the cupola with the SSRMS OBSS unberth and handoff.
Houston on the big loop, we concur, Nicole.
Thanks, Hal. That was really fun.
I'm sure the view was a lot better for you up there.
Well, it was really very nice, and hopefully you guys had some nice camera shots as well.
Yes, we did, intermittently.
How does it feel overall to be on such a historic mission?
Well, I actually, Mike Barrett here, I spent 6.5 months here in 2009, and I loved it up here. I didn't want to leave. So for me, the mission has a lot of meaning. It's a return, and just getting back to this magnificent stack has been incredible. It's a little bit bigger than I left it. But as Steve said, we're bringing the assembly of the station to a close. We're delivering the last U.S. module up here, and then it's pretty much built, more or less. And this mission kind of marks a turning point where from now on, we're mostly using the station to get science, to get a lot of engineering know-how to hopefully enable us to go further one day. So there's a lot that we're learning up here, and it's just a magnificent place. So I think that's really the meaning of this mission to me.
It's now day 4 of your scheduled 12-day shuttle mission. You've brought with you this time not only a logistics module for doing more experiments on board the space station, but also a human-like robot, Robonaut 2. What is R2, and how will it be used?
Robonaut 2 is essentially, it's in cooperation with NASA and General Motors, but it's a technology demonstrator. It's a human-like robot, at least from the waist up. And the intent by bringing it up here is they're going to install it, and they're going to start doing some basic tasks with it to see how it works in space, and also to look at it operationally and decide, how would you best use a human-like robot in space? What sort of tasks to use it for? So it's a technology demonstrator, doing a little bit of science with it, and then a lot of operations with it to determine in the future, is there a place for a human-like robot in space to help us? And if so, then how would we use that?
A follow-up for Commander Lindsay. This is your 5th shuttle mission, the 3rd aboard Discovery. As you lifted off last Thursday, what were your thoughts as Discovery began its final mission after 27 years of flying?
Well, I think all of the crew has had a lot of thoughts about this being the last flight of the Discovery, as well as the tremendous folks on the ground that have been helped out, thousands and thousands of workers that have really worked on the vehicle since about 1984. So we all think about that, but the truth is, once we get close to launch countdown, we're not really thinking about Discovery's last flight. We're thinking about doing our job. So honestly, from prior to liftoff on through liftoff and ascent, we're primarily focused on our jobs. Having said that, it's a real privilege to be on this last flight of Discovery, and I have flown her 3 times now, and she's just a great vehicle still.
Well, here in Boston, we're quite interested in our 2 local astronauts, mission specialist Stephen Bowen of Cohasset and flight engineer Katie Coleman of Shelburne Falls. First, Katie, I saw in one interview that you did that you play the flute in space, continuing to keep up hobbies from home. Describe the camaraderie, if you will, aboard the space station, especially when you have new guests. It must be a red-letter day when a new shuttle crew arrives.
Well, there's 6 of us aboard here before STS-133 showed up. 2 Americans, 1 Italian, 3 Russians. And, you know, we're all different kinds of people, but we have a common goal, and that is to live and work in space and see what, see what great things that we can do from here. To me, it's just it's a marvelous place to live and work. And when these folks showed up, I'll tell you, I didn't realize maybe that I'd been a little lonely until you got here. And it's just so nice to see other people and talk about different things, and also just bring some new perspective and new excitement. You know, even on a place as marvelous as the space station, sometimes you wake up going, okay, it's another day in space. And I think new folks bring a perspective that we're really pretty lucky to be up here in such a special place.
This question is for Mission Specialist Stephen Bowen. You have 2 spacewalks scheduled. Outline what your objectives are during both.
Well, tomorrow we'll have our first spacewalk, and our objective tomorrow is really to set up so they can install the PMM the following day. After that, we're going to reposition the pump module, which failed this summer. We're going to put it back to its carrier, basically, where it will be taken down on a later flight. And then after that, we'll be moving on to a lot of cleanup tasks if we have the time. Those are the 2 primary objectives for tomorrow. The next EVA, we're kind of all over station. Al's on one side, I'm on the other. We have a carrier that's coming off to Columbus, is going back to the payload bay. Al's got a lot of work to do on the back side of the truss, trying to repair some radiator beams that didn't quite fit the last time somebody tried to fix them, so Al's got that on his plate. So really, it's a lot of tasks all over the station.
You were assigned to this mission after a fellow astronaut, Tim Coper, was scratched following a bicycle accident in mid-January. Did the relatively short notice make it more difficult to prepare?
Well, yeah. Obviously, there's a lot of things I don't know that I'm trying to catch up that are specific to this mission. But these guys have been training together for so long, and they know this mission so well. They've been able to pick up the slack that I kind of brought on board, and they've got me covered pretty well.
My last question is for Shuttle Commander Stephen Lindsay. Discovery is going to be housed at the Smithsonian. You have such extensive knowledge of the shuttle. If you were going to play tour guide, what would you most want to show visitors?
That's a good question. I guess what I would really want is I would want visitors to get a perspective of the shuttle like we have. To me, it's if you're going to display one of these, ideally what I like is I like an opportunity for people to be able to not only get up close and personal, look around the outside of the vehicle, but maybe take a walk through the payload bay and see what's out in the payload bay where all the cargo that we carry, because there's not a vehicle that's ever been able to lift as much as we can into low Earth orbit, and I don't think there will be for quite some time in the future. But I also like them to be able to get on board in the mid-deck and the flight deck and experience what it's like to fly the vehicle, as well as what it's like to live in the vehicle, because we not only obviously fly it and take it up into space, but we live in it for days on end. So I guess what I'd really like is for the way to be displayed to display in such a way, and I'm not sure how to do this, such that everybody can walk through and get a sense of what it was like to fly and what it's like to live in this spacecraft in space.
Colonel Bo, this is Discovery's last flight. So what's next for you, along with all the other crew members, and for the shuttle mission itself?
Well, that's a great question. You know, there's for the future after the shuttle, those things are being worked out right now. Decisions are being made on high for future vehicles. We're looking at commercial vehicles to carry astronauts up to the space station. Obviously, we'll continue coming up to the space station on board Soyuzes. As far as me personally, that's one of the things. Yeah, I would love to have the chance to fly on up to space station and get the chance to live up here like Katie and Scott for up to 6 months. That would be a great opportunity, but obviously there's a lot of other people who would like to do that as well, so have to see how those things work out. You know, that's one of the mysteries of life of an astronaut is how you get assigned to a mission, so if I'm lucky enough, I'd like to do it again.
I remember the first shuttle flight back in 1981. My 3 daughters don't. They have no idea. Do you think space travel is getting to be old news? What's next for NASA after the shuttle program is retired?
Well, I think the objective that NASA set out back in '58 was that space travel shouldn't really be news after a while. It should be part of our routine existence. And so to think that we've had the space station continually inhabited for the last 10 years, so there are 5th graders who've never known the space station not to be in space with astronauts on board, I think is a major success, a milestone for NASA. So what I look forward to in the future is when space travel becomes routine. Just as back in the 1930s, only daredevils and barnstormers took to the skies, and now we have everybody flying around on airlines. At some point, before these children become old, we should have routine travel, people above the planet here, and above Earth here, and maybe traveling out to the moon. For NASA, I think to push out into the solar system is what's next for us. To go to the moon, go to Mars, the asteroid belt, to go and explore, to push out the frontiers, which we've been doing since 1958.
What is it like knowing this is the very last mission for Discovery?
Well, Discovery is a really historic vehicle in a lot of ways. It took its name from a lot of ships of exploration over many centuries, and it comes with a pretty rich heritage, and it's really lived up to that. And when you think about when you retire a vehicle, usually it's when it's old and dilapidated, but Discovery is at the top of her game. She just performed magnificently getting us up here, and that's pretty much what you need for spaceflight. It's where technology has to work at its cutting edge, and Discovery's still doing that. So I think we're all going to be kind of sad to see it go. But I think it needs to be replaced by something that can do more things, different things, and we're going to remember Discovery and all the shuttle fleet, I think, is the most capable vehicles that have ever flown in space.
Very nice. And one more question. Do you guys have the ability to watch the Oscars tonight, or are you even interested? Will you be watching if you can, or is it mostly just get updates? Or how do you guys get information like that up there?
Yeah, we could actually watch it while we have the satellite coverage, which is probably about 45 minutes an hour. So if we chose to, we could have the ground send it up over a computer software program. And I really wasn't aware that it was tonight, but potentially we could watch it if we weren't working.
Sure, I'm sure it's not the most pressing thing on your mind right now, but we thank you for your time. We hope you guys have a successful mission. Thank you for taking the time out to be with us today.
You're very welcome.
This view in the equipment lock shows Steve Bowen in the foreground and Al Drew behind him, working to prepare their spacesuits for tomorrow's spacewalk. Bowen and Drew are now in a 45-minute block of time that is set aside to allow them to continue to get everything set up in this area. And when they finish with that, they then have a couple of hours to get all the tools set up at each of the EMUs, each of the spacesuits, so that tomorrow morning they'll be able to get out into the relative speed. And to help orient you, behind Al Drew through that hatch is the other compartment of the Quest airlock that's known as the crew lock, and that is the area of the module in which the two of them will be placed after they get suited up and are ready to go out tomorrow. The hatch to that compartment can be closed, and then just that portion of the airlock is depressurized, and a hatch is located there for them to exit the vehicle. That way the equipment lock portion does not have to be depressurized and have the air vented to space. It helps preserve some of the supplies. This is Paolo Nespoli, who is in the Columbus module. If you look beyond him through the hatchway, that's the Harmony module, and through the other hatchway into the Kibo Laboratory module. The live look inside the Destiny Laboratory, the International Space Station, where Flight Engineer Katie Coleman and Mission Specialist Mike Barrett are working, packing up samples that have been in the minus 80 degrees laboratory freezer and putting them into double cold bags to preserve those experiment samples for return to Earth when Shuttle Discovery undocks and heads home. Beyond these two crew members, through the hatch, is the Unity module. You see crew members floating through over there. If you went into Unity and turned left, you would get to the station airlock, where spacewalkers Al Drew and Steve Bowen are at work, continuing their configuration of their tools for tomorrow's spacewalk. That EVA gets started at 10:18 tomorrow morning. A moment ago, we also saw flight engineer Paolo Nespoli. He's in the Columbus laboratory, where he's been working on a variety of maintenance tasks throughout the afternoon. Now, a look at Nespoli, who is packing up some trash. He's been working in the Columbus module for a few hours now, and we heard him in contact with the Mission Control Center operated by the European Space Agency, known as the Columbus Control Center. That's in Oberpfaffenhofen, Germany, which is near Munich. What we're seeing now is a live view on the station's truss structure as the mobile transporter, which supports the mobile base system, which in turn is supporting the station's robotic arm, is translating from worksite number 3 to worksite number 2. This is a very short trip, but the MT, the mobile transporter, is being moved to get the base into the proper location to support tomorrow's spacewalk activities. The robotics system is designed to run on a pair of rails that go across the front of the station's truss. From the port side to the starboard, they run out to almost to the point where the rotating solar arrays exist. They don't go out to the very end of the truss. Though, in fact, one of the tasks on the spacewalk plan for tomorrow calls for Steve Bowen and Al Drew to install some small extensions on the starboard end of these tracks that will permit the mobile transporter with the SETA cart attached to move just a little further out onto the truss to support additional work activities.
We're filling this bag with what we call technical water. It's basically water that you're not going to use to drink. We call it technical water. And I'm going to go transfer it over to the space station.
How many bags do you have to fill today?
Just this one, well, this one CWC, and then we're actually going to do PWRs, which is a bag that we use for filling for EVAs for the water that we use in the seats.
Okay, how many bags are you going to fill the whole mission?
That's a good question. Probably around 20 when it all lines up, but you know, it changes real time in flight.
What you doing?
This is your flight day highlights. What are you up to today?
I'm a transferring fool.
Delivering the crew care package.
Delivering the crew care package, snackage, coffee cakes.
Hey, Katie.
Yes. Oh, she's in the cupola.
So that's your day today?
A little robotics this morning. Did the OBSS handover and doing transfer and learning how much I don't know about location codes. We're getting there.
I'm not doing anything.
Yes, you are, Mike. Tell us what you've done today. So
well, let's see. I got up, I flew through this magnificent station, and then I got to remove the OBSS from the payload bay, twirl it around, and hand it off to the shuttle arm so the shuttle guys could, that's us now, use it to look around. And then I did the activation checkout of the new tonometer with our eye simulators, and now I get to go exercise. Mostly I'm just enjoying being back on this magnificent stack of modules.
All right, have a good day.
What more could you ask?
Okay, Nicole,
Okay,
describe your day.
All right, can you see the cupola?
Yes, they can.
All right, so this is a beautiful place to work from. You'll see we're pointing towards the Earth, just beautiful panoramic windows, and very fortunately we have the robotics workstation set up in here so that we can work with both the station arm and then in partnership with the guys over on the shuttle who have the shuttle robotic arm. And today Mike and I did some work moving the big shuttle boom out and around and handing it off to the shuttle arm.
And
then later, Katie and I got to do a task that we call a walk-off, which is where we take one end of the arm, put it on a place on the station, take the other end off, and now the base and the tip are exchanged. So basically, this arm is very cool because you can move it all over the space station to different spots, and it gives you different access to do all kinds of work across the space station.
Great, thanks.
Very fun.
Okay, so this is lunchtime.
Yep.
Flight day 4. And we're eating space station food, so Commander Lindsay is going through the tins.
Snacks.
Just the snacks.
Snacks.
I think Al got his out of the pantry.
Yes.
Everybody else is over here rifling through food.
And brown rice, which is clearly graduate course level food.
Pantry food kind of roughly translates into
Nominal tortilla.
Okay, Al.
Standard fare.
What kind of tortilla?
Nominal. Standard fare.
Standard
fare.
What's an off-nominal tortilla?
One moldy,
Square.
like hard.
Oh, okay.
These ones are good. That wasn't the word I was expecting.
All right, Al, tell us about your morning.
This morning I got to go and transfer one of the PCS laptops out of the Japanese module, install on the flight deck so we can see data from the space station. All that went okay until it was time to plug in the data.
So it all worked good except for the actually getting it to work.
Well, first off, I had to find the right data card. That was a bit of a treasure hunt. And once I had the card located and put in the right spot, the data still wouldn't flow. And so we did a little bit of a wiring, spark chasing, and found out that it was plumbed to the wrong plug up on the shuttle panel. So on the right plug, wrong panel. So once we got that going, we had the right card and the right plug, everything flowed just fine.
Amazing.
And now we have data.
Good. So here we have Bowen and Drew and Steve Bowen, uncharacteristically speechless. Actually, they can't talk because they're wearing masks. And the reason they're wearing masks is because they're terribly comfortable. And they're starting to pre-breathe oxygen to wash the nitrogen out of their bodies, getting ready for their spacewalk tomorrow. In about a half hour, we're going to shut the door here, and they're going to depress down to about 10.2 psi, roughly about 10,000 feet in altitude. And they'll spend the night there, and we'll let them out for a short time in the morning to hit the bathroom and clean up a little bit, and then we'll go back in here, and they'll be on masks for that. And once they get back in here, we'll get them all dressed up in their spacesuits and ready to go out the door. And our commander has given them all sorts of words of encouragement, and also told them if they do a bad job, he won't let them back in. So with that, I think we are ready for spacewalk ops tomorrow. Wave to the nice people. All right, guys, thanks.